everyone, and welcome to Crown Melbourne to the Aussie Millions cash game. Now, we're having a fabulous afternoon along South Bank here, but the exciting stuff is going on inside. With some of the highest quality poker about to be played, you never know what's going to happen in a game like this. I've got a feeling things are just about to heat up. Let's go take a look.
Welcome to the Aussie Millions Poker Championships high stakes cash games here in 2014. There you see it's kind of more like a balance sheet with profits and losses. Some of the players, all the players in white, they're making money, and all the players in red, well, they are losing money. You can see there's some pretty big losses. There is our feature table. A seat at this table will cost you a lazy $250,000 to enter. Of course, in a cash game, you can reload at any time. So when you're running out of money and you're feeling a bit low, just top it up again. Some of these players have done that. I sit aside 2007 APPT Grand Final winner Grant Levy. Grant, we talk about the stakes of this table and the player quality. And we've seen low Shing Fung, who was very active and was down 200k, and now he's back up and sort of broken even. He's a very different kind of character. Do you expect the other players to focus in on him?
I mean, they might try to, definitely. He has shown that he's more than willing to put chips in the middle. He's an action player, but at the same time, they've got to be a little bit afraid that he's going to play for stacks every time he puts chips into the pot, so they've got to be a little bit wary of him as well.
Well, there's a pot brewing between Antonius and Low. Low catching middle pair on a flop of 9-8-3, a rainbow flop. Antonius with bottom pair.
And Low covers most players at the table. He's in for 500,000. There's only a couple of players that have bought in for that much.
And it goes bet call. The turn is a 9 of diamonds. The pot around $32,000.
Check or bet. Check.
And it goes check, check. So Low with a pair of eights is best, and the river a 2 of diamonds.
That changes nothing. Patrick's played a few pots that have just gone check, 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 check. He's playing pretty snug. He does have a pair here. It's checked the whole way down. If Low bets, he might get a call from Patrick, just with his image especially.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. A quick bet, a quick call. The pot now $54,000. And Low takes a nice pot off Patrick Antonius.
He's just so unpredictable, and he set that river bet up with some of the hands he's played previously. They know he's a little bit unconventional.
Well, he was down $200,000, and now you can see he's only down a couple of thousand. Ike Haxton, the big loser at the table at the moment, down almost $250,000, and Max Altergott, almost $200,000 down. Alternatively, Phil Ivey, the best player in the world with the most chips on the table, he's got $350,000 in profit in front of him. We are waiting for fireworks here, reminding our viewers that this is cash. The plaques you see, $25,000 each.
And to go with that, those orange chips are worth $5,000 and the blue chips are worth $1,000.
And a bit of a pot brewing here. Looks like Antonius is interested. He makes the call with King Jack offsuit. We know Max Altergott has the ace of hearts. Low fold.
Ha! Amazing.
Ike Haxton now.
And we saw Ike cop a little bit of a beat with his aces earlier on in this cash game. He ran into the bottom set of Low and got stacked.
Max Altergott with ace deuce of hearts. Ike Haxton, we're still waiting on what hand he has. We are 3 players to the flop. And it is a jack 8 deuce flop. And it is a rainbow flop.
Okay, a little bit of a piece for Max. He has bottom pair. Patrick has top pair. Isaac Haxton also in the hand.
16,000.
Well, Max Altergott firing with bottom pair, $16,000. Over to Antonius now, who has top pair.
It's a good bet into 2 players. It's representing a little bit of strength. Bets about half pot. We do know that Patrick isn't going anywhere with top pair. Good kicker here. Looks like he's going to raise.
Raise.
Isaac has a gut shot straight draw. Has been a bet and a raise. I'm sure Isaac's going to let this one go. Unless he feels like he wants to get a little bit tricky.
Well, he looks at his chips. Look at this. Ike Haxton is going to get involved. He's already down $250,000. He's making a pretty big call here.
It's a ballsy play. Max was the pre-flop aggressor. He gets 2 callers. He bets into 2. One of those does call, and Isaac decides to overcall just with the gut shot and queen high.
Well, he got the information he needed and got out. Now, $122,000 in the middle. Ike Haxton with a gutser draw and Antonius with top pair. And wouldn't you know it, the turn, an incredible 10 of clubs. So Ike Haxton strikes gold on the turn because he has a backdoor flush draw.
Well, not only does he fill his inside straight, he actually turns the straight flush draw. So he strikes absolute gold here. It's easy when you know it's coming, Paul.
I need it because I have to play the World Series events because I have a bet. A stupid bet I made 3 years ago.
Patrick is in a lot of trouble here.
World Series PokerStars.
When he sees this hand, he's not going to be too happy. Isaac makes a questionable call on the flop. The pre-flop aggressor bets out, gets raised by Patrick Antonius, and Isaac just decides to cold call with Max still act behind him. It's a very unconventional play, but it's going to work out for him here. And Patrick still has top pair.
It looks like a bet of around about 40,000. So a value bet here. Patrick taking another look at his cards. Top pair, reasonably good kicker.
And remember, Patrick has shown a lot of strength by raising on the flop. Isaac cold calls with Max behind him. Patrick might sit here and think, well, is my pair of jacks with king kicker any good? Looks like he's going to see a street, see a river card.
And the river is a 6 of diamonds, so Ike Haxton in command here. A pot of now just over $200,000. Antonius checks, and the question on Ike's mind, I'm sure, is how much do I bet?
Well, he can go for maximum value here, given Patrick's shown a lot of strength coming along on the turn there.
And just then, Ike Haxton announced all in. So the pressure on Antonius now.
And similarly, Isaac has shown a lot of strength in this hand. I don't think there's any way Patrick's going to call here with just the pair of jacks. Isaac is representing a much stronger hand. He does have the nuts.
A little bit of a smirk on the face of Patrick Antonius. And a sigh, and he folds. So he makes a good fold. And well, Ike Haxton, who, like I said a little bit earlier, he was down $250,000. That pot's got to help him quite a bit. Strikes gold on the turn. And we'll be back with more high stakes cash game here at the 2014 Aussie Millions. Welcome back to the 2014 Aussie Millions Poker Championships. This is the high stakes cash game, and that table, a seat at that table, will cost you $250,000. Here is the balance sheet leaderboard, and Phil Ivey sits atop. He is profiting just over $350,000. Patrick Antonius lost a big hand just a little bit earlier. He is now down to $200,000, and Ike Haxton, who was down around $250,000, is back up to negative $112,000. The money is flying around. I sit next to Grant Levy, 2007 Grand Final APPT winner. This is cash game. That is cash, Grant. You know, are the chips about to start flying?
Yeah, well, I mean, when people are this deep stacked and actually have a lot of money in front of them, I'm expecting to see a little bit of action. We haven't seen any major coolers yet, other than the aces versus set of threes. Chips just passing around a little bit. The usual suspects are winning. Phil Ivey.
Well, it looks like we've got a three-way pot. And the flop is a 9-7-5 flop. We've got Patrick Antonius with a straight draw with 10-8 of hearts. We know Max Altergott has got 10-6 of clubs. And we know now that Blow has 9-4 of clubs. The board is a rainbow, a 9-7-5 diamond, club and spade.
A little bit for everyone. Max and Patrick both with straight draws. Patrick with the better straight draw with the open-ender. Max with the gut shot. And Lowe, a very creative 9-4 has hit top pair.
Well, he's fired into the pot now.
Not Wednesday.
What's today?
Well, he does have the best hand and he's led out accordingly.
Probably Tuesday. If you think it's Tuesday or Wednesday, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tough spot for Max. He does have an inside straight draw, but Patrick to act after him.
When you don't sleep once per day, it makes it a lot harder to keep track.
Well, in the background you heard Ike Haxton talking about how much sleep he's getting. Not sure he should be playing if he's not sleeping a lot, but anyway, Max Altergott, he's going to get involved in this pot in a big way.
Well, I don't think Isaac's going to go to sleep if he's stuck $120,000. He's going to try and get out of that, and then some.
Action now back on Antonius, who is in the face of a bet and a raise.
And with a pretty strong hand. He has an open-ended draw, but there has been a lot of strength shown by his two opponents here. Patrick's out of position. I'm sure he had a plan with the check, but it's tough to continue with that action in front of him.
Well, low fired, top pair. Altergott with a gut shot straight draw. He raised him to try and take control of the hand, I'd imagine.
Possibly not the best guy to bluff here.
I was just about to say that. Lowe has shown true aggression, courage, and an unpredictability that would scare a lot of people, especially when you're sitting on about 500,000 chips right in front of you.
Pairs are hard to make too, Paul, and he has the best one, but he's going to let it go.
Well, Lowe showing that he can fold a hand. He was ahead, but Max's aggression really paid off there, and he kind of isolated Lowe there, got rid of Antonius. Nice play, I would say.
Yeah, well, he won the pot with the worst hand.
Well, there is his player profile. He is an online heads-up, no-limit hold'em specialist. And, well, you were telling me, Grant, that the first tournament he ever played, he won.
Yeah, he won the super high roll 100k buy-in at Monte Carlo last year for about 1.8 million euro, which is about almost 2.5 million Australian dollars.
Yeah, I'd probably retire with a start like that. There is Ike Haxton, who's worked his way back up from $250,000. He's opening the pot.
Raise 17.
Makes it 17,000. We see a queen of diamonds in his hand and a queen of hearts. So he's got pocket queens. Over to Richard Yong.
Well, Richard Yong has come in with the 3-bet to 17 after Isaac's opened to 7. We can see Richard has a king of hearts. Richard usually plays it relatively snug and has done so far, so I expect him to have a pretty legitimate hand here. Isaac with another monster. We know he's lost a huge pot with aces earlier on.
Well, he's only going to call here. No 4th bet or a 4-bet. The pot's almost 40,000. Can't wait to see what Richard Yong has alongside his king. Well, there's one in the board, but there's a set of queens for Ike Haxton. So Richard Yong, that second card will be very important. Oh, wow, look at this. Richard Yong has 2 of them, so there's 2 sets on the board, Grant.
Yeah, and it's slow played. It's 3-bet pre-flop. Isaac just calls, and the flop goes just a bet and a call. I expect some fireworks on the Turner River here. Richard leads out again.
They're moving fast. 80,000 in the middle. And now he bets. The pot's up to 114. A set of queen in Ike's hands. He calls. We go to the river. And it is another 5, so both players with full houses. Oh, this could be really, really big.
Well, that is the worst possible card for Isaac. He's now filled up.
50,000.
Should be scared of a straight now, obviously. That might have been slowing him down a little bit on the first 2 streets. Now he's got to think his hand is good.
Well, he's just worked his way back up to 112 in the red. He's announced all in. And Richard Yong. Wow, he says he'll lose to pocket aces, but he will not lose to pocket queens. And Ike Haxton, he's really disgusted with that.
Lose for your pocket ace. Your pocket queen, I beat your pocket queen and lose for pocket ace. That's 100% cut.
Richard Yong all smiles, explaining that he figured that he had aces or queens. He loses to aces, but he beats queens, and that's exactly what he did.
189,000.
Well, he beat the chips out of Ike Haxton, let me tell you.
This is a really unlucky situation for Isaac Haxton. It's rare that you flop a set and somebody flops a bigger one. It comes ace, king, queen, and he decides to check call, really looking to trap his opponent. Of course, he does it again when the turn is a 5. He check calls. The river's another 5, so now he can beat the 10 jack. So essentially, only aces or kings beat him. He checks. And Yong, of course, bets his kings full. And for a second, I thought Ike might just call, but he decided to go all in, and I can't blame him. And of course, he got the bad news when Yong turned over the kings. Just a unlucky cooler.
Welcome back to the 2014 Aussie Millions High Stakes Cash Game. And boy, have we been seeing some cash fly around this table. A seat will cost you $250,000. And the players on the right on this leaderboard, you can see they are making money if they are in white, and they are losing money if they are in red. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Ike Haxton is down an actual $356,000 cash. Richard Yong, a massive hand earlier against him. He goes all the way back up the leaderboard, and now he's profiting $188,000. We're still waiting to see some really big fireworks with Phil Ivey, and he's built his stack beautifully. And there is the man that took the chips off Ike Haxton.
Yeah, poor Isaac Haxton. He's had two big hands. He's had queens in one hand, aces in the other. He's run into a set both times and been stacked both times. So he is down $350,000 and really hasn't put a step wrong.
7,000 to call. Pretty bad one. Everybody would have done.
Well, Ike Haxton choosing not to play this time. Phil Ivey and Richard Yong. Richard Yong with 5-6 of clubs.
Heads up.
Phil Ivey with a 3 of clubs.
And just remember, unlike a tournament, if these guys do bust, they can just reload, buy in for another $250,000 or more.
Well, the flop was an interesting ace-4-7. The turn of repeat ace, it goes check-check on the flop. We now know that Ivey has pocket 3s, and we know Yong has an up and down straight draw. It goes bet, and Ivey lets it go.
I would have loved to see a river card 3 there. Would have seen some action.
Oh, Richard Yong. A big one off Haxton, a small one off Ivey. It all counts because this is cash we're talking about. Those plates you see in front of the players, they are $25K each. There is Richard Yong's player profile. He was born in Malaysia, moved to Hong Kong. And we have seen his face a lot around the cash games, especially in Macau, as you can see there.
Yeah, he plays a lot of the biggest high-stake cash games in Macau. Huge games over there. But he's a regular at the Aussie Millions as well. He's come down, plays the 100K and the 250K buy-in tournaments and the cash game every year for at least the last 5 or 6 years.
Action folds around to Antonius. He will open for 6,000.
Patrick's stuck a couple of $100,000 in this game so far.
He's opened with ace-3 of hearts. Low Shing Fung comes along for the ride. Wait and see what he's got. Ivey's involved with 2-5 of diamonds. Certainly a lot of hands you won't see in tournament poker, that's for sure. Polk looks like he's in there with pocket 4s.
Well, in tournament poker, a lot of the time we're rather short stacked relatively.
There could be a lot of action on that flop, Grant. There's 6-5-4 there, 2 hearts. We have, well, Antonius has got the nut flush draw, and Polk's flopped a set, and we still don't know what all the cards are.
Polk has a set. Richard Yong has at least a gut shot straight draw. Phil Ivey has a pair and the bottom end of a gut shot. Antonius, like you said, has the nut flush draw plus an open ender.
Fold.
Well, low folds. He gets out of there. He had Queen Jack offsuit. Now we're going to find out what Richard Yong had.
I think we're going to see some...
See raised.
Well, I mean, he could have 8-7. Have both of these players in bad shape.
What? If he has 8-7, this could be an incredible hand. You got a set, the nut flush draw, and a straight draw. And if he has 7-8, he has the nuts. Let's wait to see if the graphic will catch up. Meanwhile, actions on Doug Polk, who's facing a very big bet.
Meanwhile, Max Altergott fits in dinner. While he waits, an interested bystander.
Don't want to miss a hand. Not at these stakes anyway. The pot, just over $130,000. Polk will call.
And this pot will swell much bigger than $175,000, I'd say, Paul. Patrick not going anywhere.
Antonius casually calls. What a turn this could be. A queen of hearts. So Antonius with the nuts now.
Well, we know Richard Yong is drawing dead, regardless of what his other card is.
And his body language kind of suggested a resignation in that check. Now over to Polk, who's still sitting with a set of 4s.
Yeah, Polk can still win this hand. We know at the moment Patrick has a lock on it.
Oh, Patrick's going to place a pretty big bet here. He may not want to see the river. 115,000. Richard Yong, who made a big raise on the flop, is now out. And Polk, with a set of 4s, has got to pay 115,000 if he wants to see his set turn into a full house. Or maybe.
Well, it's a fine line for Patrick. He obviously wants to get value from his flush here. But at the same time, he doesn't want to lose Doug. Regardless of what Doug has, Patrick knows that he's in good shape. But Doug has a hand that can catch up.
Doug makes the call, so the pot swells to almost $450,000. The river, a 7 of diamonds. No full house for Polk. He checks. Now Antonius has the nuts. How much can he get out of him?
Well, it's a good card for Doug. It's now 4 to a straight there. He may be able to get away from it. I'd say Patrick's going to shove. It's 445 in the pot. He has 200,000 behind.
Yes, you're right, Grant. He has moved all in. I can't imagine.
Doug probably thinking that river card sucks. I can't call now. Little does he know it's helped him a lot and helped him get away from the hand.
You're right. He lets go of his set with a bit of a smile and a big sigh. And Antonius, who lost a big hand before, collects a lot of plaques, which we know are 25,000. There's a lot of orange ones in there too. And from what I remember, you told me they were 5,000. So let's have a look here. As Patrick Antonius is now he has a white figure next to his name, which means he is making money. Phil Ivey still the most profiting player on this table. And all the players in red, they need to make up some ground.
And Doug Polk, who was profiting well over 120,000, 150,000 before that hand, still in the white, but only 20,000 now.
Action is on low Shing Fung, who's been probably one of the more entertaining players at this table. He's involved with a Jack-8 of clubs. Haxton follows him in. Richard Yong with a couple of phones and maybe $750,000 in front of him.
And Isaac Haxton with the pocket fives. I'd imagine that he's going to get cooled again at some stage. When you have those days, you have those days.
Action is on low with Jack-8 of clubs. He is dominated, but that's never stopped him before.
Well, Jack-8 of clubs is one of those cash game hands, you know, the guys like to play the suited connectors and suited 1-gappers and 2-gappers. Hands like that like to splash around a little bit.
You're absolutely right. Both players call. 3-way pot. Easy. 40,000 in the middle.
Easy call for Ike Haxton. Set mining here.
And the flop is a King-8 deuce flop. 2 spades.
And low flop's the best hand again.
Max Altergott 3-bet pre-flop. And he will continue the aggression. Throws in a plaque for 25,000. Over to low now, who looks at Ike and then thinks about it, and then looks at Ike again and thinks about it and throws it in there.
Is that a tell there, Paul?
Ike Haxton gets out of the way. He's terrific to watch. Let's have a look at the turn. The turn, a 6 of spades. No help.
Well, it's help to Max Altergott. Now turns the nut flush draw.
46,000.
And obviously the song and dance that Lowe made on the flop there, he looked very weak. It looked like a questionable call to any bystander. So of course Max is going to continue putting the pressure on.
Well, the pot over 136 now, $136,000 cash, that is. Lowe, who has no fear, is facing a bet of about $46,000. He takes a bit of a look over to Max Altergott, perhaps looking at the size of his chips.
He's not one to mask his emotions, Paul.
He folds this time. So Max Altergott, with a bit of aggression, gets low to fold his hand. So Max's pre-flop aggression allowed him to take the pot away. It's a very nice play from the German. We'll be back with more high-stakes cash game at the 2014 Aussie Millions.
Thanks for joining us at the Aussie Millions Poker Championships high-stakes cash games here in 2014. A seat at that table will cost you $250,000. They are playing with real cash, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in white, you're making money, and if you're in red, you're losing money. That's right, Ike Haxton is down $373,000, but it's not over yet. Phil Ivey sits atop over $300,000. Antonius in the middle there. Some famous names. And Shing Fung, he's been a roller coaster. He was down $250,000. Now he's down about $60,000. But anything can happen with this man at the table. He's very courageous.
Yeah, Paul, while the swings are pretty big in a cash game, if someone is down $373,000 like Ike Haxton, he's only one hand away from turning a profit.
Well, Paul Newer here with ace-jack offsuit, and Antonius is in this pot as well with ace-10 offsuit, and Richard Yong from Malaysia with 7-6 of hearts. The flop, an ace, an 8, and a 5, and 2 clubs. So Richard Yong with a straight draw. Newer here hits top pair as well as Antonius.
A little bit for everyone. These are the kind of flops we like to see. Nice and action-filled. Start building a big pot. Remember, some of these guys have 500,000, 600,000 sitting in front of them. Very deep stacked. Blinds are only 1,000, 2,000.
Action is on Antonius. He has flopped top pair. He calls. We will see a turn. The turn is a 4 of diamonds. That completes Richard Yong's straight.
It does, and that card looks like a brick to Newey and Antonius. And Richard Yong has the stone nuts.
Well, a bet of 26,000 now. The pot around 90,000. Will he get Newey and Antonius to come along for the ride?
You never know that. You never know that. That's true. Maybe depart.
Well, Antonius has checked it over. I'd imagine Newey's at least going to call here.
But you're probably right.
No, he lets it go. That's a pretty good fold.
It's a good fold.
Will Antonius follow suit? 26,000, 90,000 in the middle. Facing the nuts. Richard Yong with 6-7 of hearts turning a straight. He does make the call. He's out of position.
And drawing dead.
The river, a 3 of diamonds. Action on Antonius. And he does check. So over to Richard Yong with the stone cold nuts.
And that card changes very little as far as Patrick's concerned. He would... If he thinks his hand was good on the turn, the 3 shouldn't change too much, and Richard is going for value.
$85,000. Antonius has been in this spot a couple of times at this cash game this year. Big decisions on the river. He's made the correct call every time, almost.
Or the correct fold.
Or the correct fold. Will he do it again?
And Richard's not really one that gets out of line too much. So Patrick's got to ask himself, what is he going for value with? Is he going for value? Or is it a bluff? And like we said, Patrick's been right so far. He has turned a profit after a slow start, and he makes a good fold again.
He does. So Richard Yong will take a pot of a tickle over $200,000, and he's really starting to exert himself on this table. Player from Malaysia, having a lot of fun. Well, so much fun collecting so much money. Remember, at home, ladies and gentlemen, that is cash that he's piling onto that stack. Quite amazing.
And Richard Yong advising the table that his good friend Paul Foy is going to come in and sit. Just clarifying that no one has any objections.
I thought the back row was cool.
Well, the man's got a dinner reservation.
I don't know.
He's got places to go. He's won enough. He's won a couple 100,000.
I wonder if he's going to... Well, is he one of those guys that's going to shout, or is he going to... Has he got short hands, you reckon, at a dinner table?
I think he might be one that shouts.
I've got to hang out with these guys more often. And we see there Max Altergott from Germany is involved with a Queen-Jack offsuit. Round to Shing Fung. Kind of my action man at this final table. He's been fantastic to watch.
Yeah, I'm loving Low. I'm a big fan of his. Up and down, putting 100,000 in, bluffing off 100,000, coolering Isaac.
He's really having a think about this.
Get it in there. 7-4 is good.
Oh, look at this. He's coming in for a raise.
He hasn't shown a lot of pre-flop aggression. This is a first.
And he's got Queen 9 off suit. I guess that's why. He's dominated by Altergott, but he's taken an aggressive line pre-flop. Round to Haxton, who hasn't mucked his hand yet. So he might have something.
And remember, Isaac and Lowe have a little bit of history. Isaac lost with aces to Lowe's set of threes earlier on.
That was a very
completely stacked.
Very expensive history you're talking about.
As we can see, we know Isaac's lost about 380,000, but he's still sitting there with 100,000.
Ike Haxton has announced all in with ace king offsuit. So it folds back around to Lo Shing Fung, who took a huge whack out of Ike Haxton earlier to come back into this cash game, sitting, well, looks like his stack size is around about $500,000 from what I can see. We know he likes a gamble. He wouldn't make this call, would he, Grant?
Well, he's getting almost 2-1 on his money. I think his raise is to 35 and Isaac's in for 127. He's got to call about 90 into 168.
He's really thinking about it. Well, if you're watching at home, that is real money they're playing with. This is not tournament poker. This is high-stakes cash game. And he folds, so he was about to take a gamble. Look at him. He really wanted to put it in there, but Ike Haxton takes a very nice pot of around 168,000 Australian dollars. So the chips are truly flying here at the Aussie Millions Poker Championships. And we'll be back with more after the break here at the 2014 Aussie Millions.
Crown Towers is one of the most well-known hotels in Melbourne, boasting 449 luxurious hotel rooms and 32 villas. You can even tell right here in the lobby that it is absolutely extravagant and indulgent, the perfect place to stay. You might even forget that there is a whole city outside waiting to be discovered. Renowned for its designer boutiques, Crown Melbourne is the place for shopping and is home to fashion houses such as Prada, Louis Vuitton, Hugo Boss, Pasquale and Versace. Crown Melbourne offers exclusive villas featuring 24-hour butler service, private elevators and access to the Crystal Club. So we thought we'd take a sneak peek at the most exclusive of them all, the Presidential Villa. This one-of-a-kind villa expands over a full floor of Crown Towers, boasting opulent design, handcrafted furniture and 360-degree views of Melbourne. This place is beyond believable and is the pinnacle of extravagance.
Welcome back to Crown Melbourne, the 2014 Aussie Millions Poker Championships. It involves so many tournaments and so many cash games, and this is the biggest, the high-stakes cash game. Phil Ivey sits atop with $312,000 in profit. Yes, profit, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in white, you're making money. If you're in red, you're losing money. At the moment, Ike Haxton is losing money. Lo Shing Fung, well, he goes from losing money to making money to losing money. He's probably one of the more entertaining players I've seen on a cash table. Just then you saw Paul Newey from England. Here is Patrick Antonius from Finland. He raises it up. He's been known for his cash game play for a very, very long time. One of the more experienced players at the table. I sit aside Grant Levy, 2007 APPT Grand Final winner. Some of these stacks are really starting to emerge.
Yeah, they're all pretty deep, Paul. Blinds 1,000, 2,000, and they're all sitting with at least $200,000. So it's a very deep, structured cash game.
The flop, a 5-3-4. Richard Yong with ace-8 of clubs, waiting to find out what Antonius has. He bets, does Yong. Now, remember, also in a cash game, ladies and gentlemen, you can reload or at any time. The turn, a 10 of clubs that went check-check on the flop. So Yong with a nut flush draw.
There's a nut flush draw. He has an overcard in the ace, and he has a gut shot straight draw with the ace for the wheel. Needs a 2, and now he's made a pair.
The river, an 8 of diamonds. So action on Antonius. We still don't know what Patrick has. Looks like he's got enough to bet with, though. The bet, 65,000. The pot was 88. Over to Richard Yong. And look at this. Patrick with 2 pair. Turn and river. And he gets called. So Patrick Antonius will take a nice pot off Richard Yong. Richard Yong with the turn flush draw. Didn't realise that Antonius had him beat.
Yeah, I think Richard definitely made the right call, given the action in that pot. He has made a pair on the river. Second pair, good kicker.
Let's have a look at the balance sheet. Phil Ivey atop. Richard Yong, he's making money. Patrick Antonius is making money. Polk and Newey, all in the white. Max Altergott, Shing Fung, and Ike Haxton are all in the red. Wonder what their hourly rate is. I can't even imagine. Action is on Shing Fung.
Probably need an abacus to figure that out, Paul.
Around to Phil Ivey, who has, well, pretty much won almost every hand he's played. But you kind of expect that from Phil.
Where's your hand?
And he's sitting there with a covering stack. So he has more chips than anyone else. We know that those plaques are worth 25,000, the orange chip's worth 5,000, and the blue chip's worth 1,000.
He raises it up to ace-4 of hearts. Paul Newey.
Paul Newey's been pretty quiet. He won a hand right at the start of the cash game. He hasn't played too many hands since.
The flop, a 5-6-3 flop. Newey with king-queen, and Ivey with ace-4.
Check. Check.
Ivey with the open-ender and the ace-high.
Check a bit.
Both players check the turn, a jack of clubs. Checks back to Ivey. The river, a 4 now. Phil with the best hand, however, Newey's going to take a stab.
And Ivey got a decision to make, just with a pair. I think he'll call.
Yeah, he looked at him skeptically and made the call with a 4. That's why Phil Ivey is Phil Ivey. Paul Newey loses a pot, but it's not a huge pot. But what am I saying? It's $35,000.
Yeah, I mean, for some of these guys, it's just ashtray change, Paul. But for us, it's a fair amount of money.
And we'll be back with more after the break at the Aussie Millions High Stakes Cash Game. Welcome back to the 2014 Aussie Millions. You are watching the High Stakes Cash Game. That means these players right here are playing with real money. The entry to sit down is $250,000. We have kind of a leaderboard, but it also acts as a balance sheet. If you're in white, you're making money. If you're red, you're losing money. And that's right, Ike Haxton is down almost $300,000. Shing Fung, who started very down and then went back up, and now he's back down again. Grant, we talk about the swings. Phil Ivey's swing is doing very well, all the way up to the top at around $350,000.
Yeah, Ivey's on the escalator. It doesn't come back down. It just goes up and up and up. Isaac Haxton slowly getting back into it. He's only down $290,000, Paul. Be happy with that.
Well, he has 3-4 of clubs, does Doug Polk, and he opens over to Lowe, who makes the call.
Doug Polk with what I like to call a cash game hand. These little suited connectors, always often disguised. You can hit a hand, no one's going to put you on it. Isaac Haxton getting involved with a 3-bet here. He's got jacks. We know
certainly does.
We know he's had aces and queens, and he's had about $500,000 loss with those two hands.
Well, he's 3-bet the button for $28,000 to one of the more unpredictable players at the table, who has 6-4 of diamonds. He has no fear, does Shing Fung, and he makes the call. So Ike Haxton in command with a pair of jacks. $70,000 in the middle. Ike looking to get some money back. Oh my goodness, what a flop. An 8-7-5 flop so low. Well, he's flopped a straight against pair of jacks of Ike Haxton.
Well, I don't think Ike's going to get his money back here, Paul.
I can't believe it. Ike with a big bet. Let's see how this works. Check. Ike bets.
Isaac with 3 premium hands, and it's going to be 3 big losses, possibly stacked 3 times, twice by the same guy.
All in?
He announces all in straight away. Ike Haxton this time having a think about it, and then he just says call. He doesn't like it, and he's not going to like it at all when he sees Lowe's hand. He has completely smashed Ike Haxton.
He says drawing dead. He's not quite drawing dead.
Actually, 9-10 is...
But he's in a lot of trouble.
All good?
You can see Ike Haxton's body language. He just can't believe it.
He does have running straight cards for chop. The board can pair, give him a few outs to a full house. He can hit a jack. There's a few cards that can keep him in it. They're running it once or more.
The turn is a 5.
That opens up the possibility of Isaac winning the hand. Needs a 5 or jack.
The river is a meaningless 3, so
All right, rebuy.
Ike Haxton announces rebuy as he gets hit again by the low Shing Fung freight train.
And Isaac down about 500,000 now.
I can't wait to see the balance sheet after that one. All the money you're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, in the middle of the table, that is real cash.
It's been a rough day for me so far, but you know, you have to turn up to a game like this ready to lose a bit of money. And I don't regret any of the decisions I've made in terms of the play of the hands. So it's just like a new day when I go back in there. I've got a fresh stack and I'm going to be playing just the same as I would have before. Even being down 2 buy-ins, I don't think it's really going to impact how the other pros are going to play against me very much. You know, they saw the hands, they would have played them the same way, and maybe they'll expect me to be frustrated, but I doubt it. I don't think I am visibly frustrated. I think things will just keep going along about as they have.
Wow.
Does that mean he expects to be cool 3 more times, Paul?
You need to have thick skin to play this game, let me tell you. There are times I wish I was on that table. This is not one of them.
Well,
a seat at this table costs you 250 cash. Like 250,000, that is.
Like he said, Paul, he's been cooled 3 times and he's only down 2 buy-ins. That's a win for mine.
Well, Lowe is involved again. Phil Ivey just jumps off his seat. In a cash game, you can do that. You can go and grab something to eat or phone a friend. Round to Doug Polk, who will raise the button. Low Shing Fung now with only a king of clubs that we can see. Polk with pocket 8s. Some of the players you can see stretching their legs. Doesn't stop the amount of money that's going on this table flying around, let me tell you.
And Polk has slowly gone about his business. He has booked a small profit so far. Hasn't been involved in too many big pots. Sign of a good player, Paul.
Yeah, that's true. And look at Lowe. I mean, his middle name should be Big Pots, really. He's quite an incredible entertainer, really.
Yeah, he's been our action player at the table, and look at all the chips he has there. Remember, the Clarks are worth 25,000. The orange chips are worth 5, and the blue ones are worth 1. So he's got about 54 billion in front of him.
And he makes the call with King 9 offsuit, the flop, and Ace Deuce 7.
Not much there for either player. Just the 1 overcard to Doug's pair. And Doug would be sitting there thinking, well, what does this guy have? He could have pretty much any 2 cards.
It goes check, check. That's an interesting check from Doug Polk. I would have thought he would have fired the turn of 9 of hearts. That means that Lowe has caught the lead. And he checks again, so now Polk elects to bet, perhaps the wrong time.
Nearly checked with the best hand and is betting with the worst hand. That's what we do as poker players, Paul.
And the river is a 2 of hearts, so that check on the flop could cost Doug Polk some money.
Yeah, the 2 changes nothing.
Both players check, and Doug Polk won't be happy. He checked flop, he opened the door for Lowe, he catches the turn, and like you said, Grant, that's sometimes what players do. They open the door, and Lowe continues to collect chips. He's moving on up. And ladies and gentlemen, there have been highs and there have been lows. Ike Haxton involved in a lot of hands, taking some very big hits. And Lo Shing Fung, well, he was the recipient. He's had a roller coaster ride, but he's ended up on top. Join us next time for more high-stakes cash games at the Aussie Millions Poker Championships right here in Crown, Melbourne.